especially with prayer, we've just put prayer up in the head. And it's just about thinking about God or talking to God or imagining and speaking, you know. Whereas I think with meditation, which is the prayer of the heart, the whole person gets involved. And that includes the body. And you know, it's very important to feel that your prayer it does make you feel better at every level, including the body. So that's a good sign.
My question is a practical one, and I'm just interested in your comment, because you are the expert. From my practice of transcendental meditation, which is almost for 40 years now, there's a sense when you start to meditate to take about a half a minute of silence, just to sit with no intention to start anything, and then to pick up the mantra, which would be like Maranatha or peace, in the most effortless way possible. When you finish, when the little phone goes off, it's advised, there's no phone in the TM practice, you time it yourself, to take about 5 to 10 minutes, depending on how advanced your meditation is, just to stop the mantra and sit quietly. And the reason is there's been some suggestions in this Christian meditation that we have to act in a particular way when we come out, like let's be quiet and hold on to this feeling. In TM, it's absolutely not the case. It's once you finish your 10 minutes of quiet, open your eyes, go right into whatever activity, be it building a building, saying Mass, or whatever. So do you feel, the other part of the question is the effortlessness in the meditation using the mantra. The advice I've been given from, I'm trying to figure out two different worlds, is if you come off the mantra, it's that time when you remember that you're not there, to introduce it again in the simplest, most effortless way possible. And that in reciting the mantra in that effortless way, stress can be released. That can come up as negative thoughts or even physical shaking, any number of manifestations. And that to come off the mantra at that time, wait for that to subside, and then return. These questions relate to becoming adept, smooth practice, and how does that work with what you all are showing us?
Yeah, I think first of all you have to say that meditation is a universal human wisdom. You find it in all the great spiritual traditions of the human family back to the dawn of history. And it's present in every tradition, and it is natural to meditate in your own tradition. For example, our community, we have ongoing and wonderful dialogues with the Dalai Lama, and I found them very enriching and very helpful. But he always says, when he speaks to large groups in the West, he says, I advise you not to change your tradition. You're free to. We live in a free society. You're free to change your religion if you want. But my advice to you, he says, is stick and go deeper into your own tradition. So that's what we're trying to do, is to let people be aware that there is a Christian tradition of meditation that is part of, it's like something they have in their house, a room that they've never looked into. And then one day they suddenly say, what's behind that door? And they discover this. So, in the way that we pass on this Christian tradition of meditation, we emphasize the importance of simplicity. And that means that we don't approach the actual practice so much in terms of a technique. We don't speak about it as a technique so much as a simple method or simple practice or simple discipline. And you were talking about being effortless. Well, the goal is to be simple and to be effortless. But we're probably not there fully yet. And so we've got to do a bit of work before we get to that. I have a friend who is a very professional violinist. And he says sometimes when he gives a concert, to his amazement, for no reason that he knows, he just gives an excellent performance. and he can't explain why it just came out so well. And everybody gives him a standing ovation or something. So he says, and then the next day he'll be back to his usual form. Not good, but not excellent. But he says, so he never knows when he's going to give that excellent performance, but it comes out effortlessly. But he wouldn't be able to do that if he didn't have a regular daily practice. So he has to spend a few hours every day scraping away at his violin and just keeping in practice, keeping fit, as it were. So I think it's the same spiritually. We need a daily practice. And what I share with you all is you've all discovered a pearl of great price in this way of meditation. And then we have to accept that and then learn how to incorporate it, how to put it into our life. And what I would say is, if you can meditate every morning and every evening, that would totally change your life for the better. It may take you a week, it may take you 10 years before you get into that rhythm, morning and evening. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Just start. A really important moment is where you start doing it regularly. And that transforms your day and transforms your life. So even if you did 2 minutes a day, every morning, every evening, just that regularity would begin to change. And then you'll probably find, well, 2 minutes is a bit stupid, I'll do 10, I'll do 20, I'll do 30. So just begin. But then what you find, the more regular you are, the more you do, you'll find that throughout the day, the prayer is alive, as I was saying earlier. The mantra, the word, begins to sink into your heart, and it opens up this stream of the Spirit, so that when you're sitting on a bench, when you're walking down the street, when you're sitting somewhere, or whatever you're doing, very naturally you'll find that the word will start to rise up in your heart. And there's no pill yet invented that can give you that experience. Because it's what I was talking about earlier, this gift that's there, that is meant for us. It's what we're created for, it's what we're here for, is to experience that. So the regular practice increases that experience of continuous prayer. And it doesn't matter where you are, what the weather's like. It doesn't even matter if you're in a good mood or a bad mood. What you're discovering is there's something deeper than good or bad moods. We all have good moods and everything seems to be going well and people are nice, and then suddenly you get somebody upsets you or something goes wrong and you're sort of plunged into unhappiness or anger or despair. But there's something deeper than all of that, and that's the life of the Spirit, the life of God in us. And so meditation just sort of burrows a little channel right through to that life. So I would say, in terms of what you're talking about, the technique, we would approach it a little differently and keep it as simple as possible.
I find when I'm home and I listen to like a stream of water, or with a Boston Pops or something. I like the Pops. My father turned me on to that, and I can meditate to it better than dead silent, because I'm concentrating while I'm meditating on the music as well as my meditation. Because when I find myself, when I meditate in silence, my mind just keeps on wandering.
Yeah. You like the music, but you like the music because of the notes.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
But between the notes, there's silence. So you wouldn't have any music if you didn't have the silence. It would just be continuous blur of sound. So the music is the variety created on the background of the silence, isn't it? Yeah. So I think you're absolutely right that listening to something beautiful can open you to this same experience. Anything beautiful. But you've got to have the eyes to see it. You could be you could be listening to the most beautiful music, you could be looking at the most beautiful view, and not see anything or hear anything, because your mind is shut down onto itself and just turned in on its unhappiness. But sometimes something beautiful can just throw you open, and then it does open you to God in the same way as meditation does, definitely. I think the meditation, though, trains you to be better able to enjoy those moments of beauty and to see more and more of them.
It's like working out.
It's like working out. You get fitter, you can do more stamina, but also you find that beauty. Now you find it in the music, and you all probably have special places where we find it, or especially strong places where we find it. But actually it's everywhere. So the meditation, I find, expands you so that you can find that beauty in places where you didn't see it before. Like in people that you wouldn't have thought you would ever find beautiful or good. That you can see something in them that you couldn't see before. But so that I don't think it's separate, really. The times of meditation are part of your daily life, and the effect they have on the daily life. See, you said you find the meditation different or difficult from the music because you get distracted when you're meditating. Well, so does everybody else. There's no human being, from the Dalai Lama down to any of us here, who doesn't get distracted when they meditate. That's the human condition. What we're doing with the meditation is a little bit of gentle exercise regularly to strengthen this muscle of attention, so that we learn to pay attention in all the situations of our life. And that's the payoff from that is that we experience God's presence when we pay attention, whoever we're with, whatever we're doing. So it kind of opens up the screen.
It's interesting to me that meditation is an internal process, and yet I feel much better to focus or unfocus myself in a meditative way when I'm in community. And I just wonder about that.
Yeah, well, I think that's a very interesting insight, because you see, I think the key word here is solitude. And what does solitude mean to you? Solitude. I think it often means to people something negative. It means they're alone, they're isolated. They don't have that intimate contact with another person or with other people that we like and need. And so solitude is almost the same as loneliness. And I think if you have too much of that kind of loneliness, it's bad for you. Because human beings are not meant to be alone. God said it is not good for them to be alone. So I don't think solitude means being lonely. When we meditate, it's a solitary practice, in the sense that I can't meditate for you, and you can't meditate for me. I can't say that I'm very tired today, I've just flown in from London, would you do my meditation for me? It's not going to work. But we can come here and spend half an hour of our short time together in silence. And we think that is not wasted time.
No.
and something's happened between us, we can talk like this. We trust each other, and we know, there's a connection. So solitude is not about loneliness. Solitude helps you to find yourself, the unique person you are. God only made one of you and only one of me, and there will never be a clone of either of us, because God is infinitely creative, right? So if I can find my uniqueness, and I can be okay with that and accept the person I am, that's going to change the way I relate to you. Because I'm not going to really care too much what you think of me. I'm not going to be putting on an act to make you like me. And you're not going to do the same with me. So we can meet in a much more free and intimate way, in fact, actually. So you do find, what you just said, I agree with you, that when you meditate with people, you find you relate to them differently. And in the same way, you relate to strangers differently. Because the stranger that you haven't spoken to yet, you're not so frightened of them. You know that they're basically a child of God, they're basically you're a good person, and you give them the benefit of the doubt anyway before you judge them. So I think it's a strange experience, but the silence, the stillness of meditation, the solitude of it, opens us up to an experience of community, of human community and friendship, in a way that I don't think anything else can do. Not so quickly, anyway.
My question for you is, do you feel that there is, in the process of getting down to that level, something which allows you to sense the presence and action of the individuals around you, as well as the spirit within you?
I think when you meditate, you're not learning anything in the ordinary sense of the word. You're not learning information. You're not learning facts. You're not acquiring data. But there is a learning going on that affects the way you live. And the learning that we are doing in the time of meditation is what we call self-knowledge. So it's not ordinary knowledge, like what's the best bus to take from here to somewhere else, or when are the Red Sox going to be playing next at home. It's not that kind of information. You may or may not want to know. But it does give you knowledge of yourself. And that self-knowledge, the early Christian monks were really very focused on that kind of knowledge, the knowledge of yourself. And they said, self-knowledge is more important than the ability to work miracles. Right. Nice to meet you. Okay. See you in South London one day. So self-knowledge, they said, is more important than the ability to work miracles. That's an amazing statement. If you have this self-knowledge, in other words, you know something more important, more powerful in a way, than any kind of scientific or magical knowledge. So I think the self-knowledge that meditation brings you to also helps you to know other people better. And it gives you a compassion, or an ability, an empathy, a way of being with them in a generous and loving way. And also, it can often be very powerful in relationships because it enables us to forgive. Because sometimes people hurt you, they don't treat you with respect or love or dignity. And when that happens, it's a real blow to us. And this is really, for anyone. And you feel dehumanized by that kind of treatment or behavior. And it hurts. And when it hurts, it makes you angry. When it makes you angry, it makes you want to react. To get your own back in some way. Maybe you don't have many weapons to get back on, but you can try. I think this self-knowledge, as it gets stronger and stronger, is the self-knowledge of yourself as a human being loved by God. And that's where your value, your dignity comes from. And nothing in the world can touch that. Doesn't matter how you're treated or how life has treated you, nothing can take away that self-knowledge. And it's not pride, it's not the ego, it's just knowing that you are loved by God. And then, so when you are badly treated, of course it hurts, it would be human if it didn't hurt, but you're able to handle it much better, and even to forgive the person who's treating you in that way. But you wouldn't be able to do that if you didn't have that experience of yourself as loved by God. So I think it's another way of saying what we were discussing before, Mary, that your relationships with other people are affected, through your own practice of meditation. And the place where it meets, really, where the solitary practice that you have to do on your own, that no one can do for you, the way that meets your relationship with the world is the meditation group. Because there you have a small group of people who you get to know in this way, through the silence, and then immediately after the silence, whether you take a minute or you don't take a minute, after the silence you just talk and get on with life. But that is the sort of the interface, really, between your relationship with the world. And that's why, Christian prayer always makes community happen and friendship. I mean, a happy person is not the person who's got everything they want. You see that every day, in the papers, people who have everything who are still miserable. Nor does it necessarily mean not having anything. So what happiness means, I think, above all, is the ability to be friends, to feel that you can be friends with anyone. And that can only happen if you've begun to heal your relationship with yourself and your past, and you can begin to feel that you're friends with yourself. And that, we all know that. If you feel better with yourself, you can be better with other people. If you're feeling angry with yourself, if you're filled with anger or sadness, you're going to look for ways to get rid of that negative feeling onto other people through your reaction with them. Whether it's the people you meet on the bus or on the street or at home or wherever you are. So the meditation takes you to a deep level, but a simple level, where you can be yourself and you can be, and you know that you are capable of being with others, even if they're not so present to you, even if they're caught up in their own business and their own problems. Nevertheless, you can see through that. I mean, that's the goal. You know, you might glimpse that once a day. But if you glimpsed it once, then you know that that's something to continue working on. And I think that's what keeps people meditating. You know, because a few months ago I was asked by a friend who's a business person in the financial world to have dinner with him and his family and a group of friends. He wanted to start a meditation group. So I went in the evening, and one of his friends was this guy from a big multinational corporation. He'd never meditated before, and we meditated for 20 minutes. After the meditation, I said, you know, anybody got anything they'd like to say? So this guy said, well, he said, I don't know how to describe this, but it's just absolutely has amazed me what happened. He said, how long was that meditation? So I said, it was 20 minutes. He said, well, it could have been 20 seconds or 20 hours. He said, it flashed by. And he said, what was most amazing was, I went down to a place I'd never been before. A place in myself where I felt peace and joy and love. He said, even those words don't describe it, but that's the best I can do. And he said, I can just say I've been there, I've seen it, I don't understand it. And then he said, what makes it even more amazing is that today was a terrible day. He said, I have a problem with anger. He said, I can't control my anger. I went into the office, I exploded because something hadn't been done properly. He said, I was a total disaster all day, and I hated myself, I felt ashamed of myself for acting like this, and I thought I'll just go home this evening. He said, I promised I'd come to this. He said, and this is what I discovered. Well, see, what does that suggest to you? What does that say to you about meditation, first of all, or about anything?
That it works.
It works.
I was going to say, it like calms your mind down and like calms your whole body. It's like when you're getting angry and you're so angry,
yeah.
It's like you really want to get loose with it, get it off your chest, but you could just also just go off into your own little world and meditate.
Yeah.
And it's like that's what he did.
Though, was he?
And that's what he didn't really have to try. All he had to do was just sit there for maybe 20 minutes, in which he really didn't know. It passed by so quickly that he really didn't get it, what he was angry about.
Yes, yes.
So it really actually did calm his mind.
Okay, so it works. What else?
He knew himself as an angry, out of control person.
Yeah.
And when he meditated, he knew himself as someone who had a deep peace inside of him.
Right.
I also think it says that there was something in that person's life where he intersected with what was possible and what was impossible, or God's looking for you. And the meditation, I think, that you teach for all Christians, I assume that it's open to all denominations, is something that brings a great deal of God's presence, because that's what I've heard you talk about, is that when you are meditating, you are coming in contact with God's presence in you. Now, my question is, how does the official church feel about
We're running out of time, but just we'll give the last one to Laurence.
Okay. Let me just say one more thing. Well, I think all of that is right on what you said. The thing it also shows is that he didn't earn it. He did nothing that day that earned him that grace. And that's the meaning of grace. It's free. I spoke at the beginning about the gift, right? Well, we don't believe in this world we live in, when you see a sign up, free gift, you know it's not a free gift. It's maybe a promotion, or it may be added into the price of something else you're buying, but nothing's free. We know that. We're smart enough to know that there's no free gifts. Well, here is a free gift that we have to, have to accept. Now, my last question is, do you think that he had that same experience the next time he meditated?
No. We're a bunch of skeptics here.
Okay, now,
It'd be nice if it could.
I see this. All right, my other question is, I asked my friend the other day when I was speaking to him, I said, is this guy still coming? Does he still come to the meditation group? And what do you think he said?
No.
Yes.
Yes. He has.
Yes.
If he's like that, he likes the peace of mind, then yes.
He said, I don't know how you control his anger.
That was a good one, Paul.
What's the answer? You got to tell.
Well, the answer is yes.
Oh, good. Phew.
He's still going. So he's got it. So you can have an experience like that hooks you. It may not repeat itself every time, but it has shown you something behind the curtain.
Yep.
And you know it's there, and it changes everything.
And his meditating like that just might get rid of his anger.
Get rid of his anger. Yes. Yes.
You can find a spot where your heart opens up and you're just love.
Yes.
You don't have that.
That's absolutely